How you doing? It's another week with Jido, 5US Hard Kill. I'm Ethan. I'm Azir.
John.
Sarah. Lindsay.
And so after this week, we actually decided to revise our MVP because we just did a little bit of research and that's what happened. But we'll get into that later. So right now, I have another story for you guys to summarize the problem statement. So everybody close their eyes and kind of try and visualize this. So while tracking through the mountainous terrain, you're accompanied by 5 other infantrymen on a recon mission into enemy territory. The ground on which you walk is extremely steep and rocky, and at this point along your trek, your group is left uncovered by the absence of a tree line, and it is vital to the success of the mission and your very lives that you are not detected. At this point, it is your responsibility to be the rifleman at the front of the pack. As you identify a drone flying overhead, you quietly signal your group to assume the firing position, while they already understand the weight of the situation. If you're unable to hit the drone on the first round of fire, your cover will be blown. You're aware that your team is already fatigued and an urgent trek back would be dangerous. You raise your rifle and adjust your crosshair to the drone, but in reality, you realize the target is so small, it's almost unpredictable as to whether you're going to hit the drone with your first shot. So as you pray to God that you hit the drone on your first fire, you pull the trigger.
So kind of going off of what Ethan said about us changing our MVP, we really focused on getting a military perspective this week. So some of our hypotheses that we formed last week going into this week were that any ranking soldier can make the decision to deploy a potential counter-UAS system. We accepted this for the most part. In most scenarios, if you see an enemy drone, you're authorized to take it down. However, we did find interviews where sometimes it does depend on the scenario and they would need to get approval to take the drone down. Another hypothesis that we had was that UAS takedowns have a lot more pain points than UAS detection. We rejected this. As of right now, in terms of pain points, we found that both the takedown and the detection have different pain points in terms of their integration with how they work with each other. And the third hypothesis is in terms of our MVP, and this was for nanotechnology. And we wanted to see if this was a viable solution or an alternative to a netting system, which Lindsay will explain in a little bit. And then computer imaging could be a viable solution. That is still pending from last week. We're still interviewing and trying to find somebody that's knowledgeable about that. And then our current MVP is not a viable/feasible solution, specifically due to the lack of drone detection features. We wanted to see if that was actually a problem to our sponsor. And for right now, we've accepted that. We're going to talk to our sponsor tomorrow to see what is about that. And then in terms of our customer discovery methods, we have very similar ones from last week, but one of the things that we really want to start doing moving forward is start talking to customers about our MVP and kind of figure out what pain points and in that current solution so that we can pivot around that and try to solve those issues. And then another thing with the enemy perspective companies. So there's a lot of vendors that actually pretend to be the enemy. So they'll fly drones around like pretend like they're the enemy. And I think that's going to give us another perspective into the problem, which is going to be helpful.
So this week we've further developed our understanding of the beneficiaries and what value propositions we can offer them. So our primary end users are the enlisted infantry soldier that's going to be in battle. And obviously their main, the main thing we can offer them is protection of physical safety. And so some solution to the threat that drones pose could be very valuable to them. A level up from them, their commanders we're going to be giving them a more tactical advantage. Reconnaissance coming from enemy drones flying over, we can prevent that so the enemy won't know what's going on. And that will give us a monopoly on drone usage and keep our tactical advantage in the sky. Additionally, if we're able to provide more safe options other than just blindly trying to shoot something out of the sky, that's going to benefit civilians in the area, so there will be greater safety and ethical responsibility. And upper level management, even above that, are going to be happy with the long-term financial benefits of this. We've also refocused in looking at who our real end user is, which is the infantry soldier. We've done some research about who are the kinds of people that are enlisting and what training do they receive, so that we know the skills and the qualities of the people that are in our archetype.
All right, so as Sarah just mentioned, we've really distilled and boiled down who our end user is going to be, who's going to benefit from this the most. And to the right side, you can see the customer jobs. Because it's an infantryman, the jobs it varies a lot. So we couldn't even fit all the jobs in here, but this is just a short, I guess, summary of what their jobs are. And we do acknowledge that there are like some current options and there are some current solutions to the problem, but they're not really effective, and that's where our MVP comes in, because our solution for this week, we feel like it's going to be best because anybody in the infantry can use it, and we feel like it trickles up, if that makes sense. So if anybody in the infantry can use it, we feel like everyone higher up in the chain can use that.
So our customer workflow is still pretty much the same. It's an infantry soldier. When they're in the field, an enemy drone is detected, and they have to analyze the situation and make a decision. Is it an emergency? Is it a standard solution? Can it be held off? Then once we make that decision, is it a hard kill, soft kill, or other? So our MVP has pivoted. We changed it because we got a new idea and we wanted to kind of go forward with this. So we have this idea of the JITUS bullet. We named it JITUS bullet specifically just for ourselves, no particular reason. Basically, it's a bullet that's going to fit into a military-grade modeled rifle. It's going to be lightweight, inexpensive, accuracy with targeting. Easy to train the soldiers who can use it, because every soldier is trained to shoot a gun or a rifle in general. Then the bullet is going to be a self-guided bullet. It's going to have a tracker when it gets into the same frequency zone as the drone. And then inside of it, it's going to be a two-part bullet. So once the first part of the bullet gets shot off, it'll leave, and then once the second part has the tracker, and then inside of that will be it's a nano composite carbon atom net basically, and once it gets in contact with the drone, it will have some type of sensor, and it'll shoot off the net, and the net will basically capture the drone and take it down that way. There's a lot of questions that we still have regarding this, so we're still doing more research on that. That's basically it.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Good job, guys. Just on this. The bullet has to make contact with the drone to release the net.
Okay, so think of it like this is how.
Like a shuttle.
It's like a rocket that goes to space. You know, it has like the first part, and then it detaches, and then the rest of it launches. So pretty much it's a bullet. It's
not going to be very big. It's going to be smaller so that it's lightweight and easy to carry.
Shoot it out of an RPG.
No. M203.
Yeah, M203.
Oh, okay.
Is that
Yeah.
And when it detaches, it actually gives it more space.
This bullet here, this is just a picture, but this bullet here is on, they've already like created a bullet, but our difference is that we would be adding the netting inside of it to capture the drone, but they already have bullets that basically can track things that are smaller, and they're nanotechnology type of bullets already. But they just don't have the netting, and that's what would make us different.
I think what I'm a little confused about is that you hit it on like a little bit, but like it would detach once it senses the frequency, right? So once it gets a certain, our mentor was explaining to us the detachment is basically like a physics force.
And so basically, the detachment will, detach at, I don't know, one point, we're not quite there yet. And then the second part of the bullet will carry on because of the force that pushes off from when it detaches. And then it'll be in the same frequency. So hopefully, like, the sensor will know when it's close enough to the drone, so that's when it'll detach. And then, regarding, like, the sensor, again, that's more questions that we're gonna have to go and further ask.
So is it proximity, sensing frequency?
It would be proximity, think of it as like sonar, because if it picks up a frequency, it should be able to tell how close it gets to it, I believe. So then, once.
So sonar is gonna bounce off of an object.
Yeah. So once,
Which is different than a radio, like if you're talking about a frequency, if it's picking up, that would be like a radio's receiver in the, those two different technologies.
There's definitely more research we're gonna have to do on that specific.
but it is proximity, yeah, once it's
Conceptually,
proximity of it.
It could work.
So what caliber is your solution? I'm curious.
What is it? More,
What do you mean by caliber?
203 millimeter.
Yeah. Because the standard drone, not a bullet.
It's not,
It's like a rocket. So is it, but I mean, how much are you
It's
gonna be
not gonna
deployed?
be like huge, it's gonna be, we're talking about the size of the bullet, right?
Yeah.
the shell is gonna be, the diameter of the shell is gonna be able to be used out of a standard,
203. It's an M203, which is basically an attachment for,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just an attachment for a regular rifle.
Yeah.
That any military personnel use, or like a standard military.
I think that the specific, you don't have to have worked out.
Yeah.
Because you are totally phase, and those kinds of things come next, but I would say you don't know anything about it. You have an idea, and then you talk to your all of your interviewees, and then start then talking.
Right.
Then do this.
and I think this idea of the net stuff, Costello, Dr. Constantine, like, this is his area of expertise.
Right.
Yeah.
So he knows this exists.
Yeah. And the netting is lightweight, it's, really strong.
Like 100 times stronger than.
Yeah, there's the statistics and the facts behind, the netting is.
And we.
All right, 1, 2, 3.